Most crypto marketers are stuck playing an outdated game, a game that is built on hype and engagement and oftentimes leads to no results. In this video, I'm going to show you how do you get unstuck and how do you become a top 1% marketer. Because here's the crazy news. The top 1% marketers aren't any smarter than you are. The only thing they have is that they have figured out the two core laws of marketing in Web3. The first one being that for a project to succeed, they must be seen and perceived as a category king. The second thing these top marketers have figured out is how do you overcome the cold start problem. The phase of marketing where most projects end up dying in. And by the end of this video, you're gonna know exactly how the top 1% of marketers think, how you can position yourself as a category king, and overcome the cold start problem. And by the way, if we haven't met before, I'm Leon Aboud. I'm the founder and CEO at Unfungible. We're a Web3 marketing agency that specializes in helping projects grow their brand and impact in Web3 using organic marketing strategies. Our current portfolio of clients currently sit at about $10 billion in market cap. And I make these videos for you for free based on the things that I'm learning with our portfolio of clients, because I want to see you win and I want to see builders that are well-intentioned win and help me shape the future of this industry. So with that said, let's talk a little bit about the first law of Web3 marketing, which is the law of leadership. Here's something important. So I've studied engineering at university. I have a bachelor's in engineering. The ring that you see on my pinky finger is actually the ring that is given to engineers when they graduate from Canada. And there's one thing that I've learned during my engineering studies is that when working on problems, there's this concept of constant variables. So let's say I am asked to design a building. I need to build a building, or I need to create thickness of let's say the wall behind me. The first thing that is always done when you're trying to solve a problem is you map out what are the variables that you are dealing with. So the variables that you're dealing with are the constants. These are gravity, temperature that you're dealing with in the area, it's the wind speed, it's the humidity. These are all the things that are needed when you're trying to solve the problem. These are the constants that you're working around. Now, although I've never ended up working in engineering, I've taken this philosophy and I've applied it to marketing. And by looking through that lens of constant variables, I've realized that there are very similar, consistent patterns in all the top brands that end up breaking through and becoming respected brands, end up being looked at, and oftentimes end up being a case study on this channel. And what all of these brands have in common is that they were able to create the perception that they are a category king. They've either created a new category for themselves, or they were able to take the position of a category by creating something new and unique in the marketplace. That's why in engineering, we have the law of gravity. In marketing, it is called the law of leadership. It is always better to be first than it is to be better in the marketplace. I mean, let's just take an example. And by the way, this is a law that I've learned from a book on marketing called The 22 Laws of Marketing. And in the book, they give these examples, which I'm then gonna relate to us here in crypto. But they give this example. So after World War II in the United States, came the introduction of imported beers. And to my viewers, whether you drink or not, you're gonna see how this relates to us in Web3 marketing. So we had the first imported beer brand. That was Heineken. That was the first brand that came and it was imported. Who today still remains the #1 imported beer in the US? It's Heineken. And then what we had is we had Miller come in and become the first domestic light beer company. So they were the first to create the light beer concept in the United States. Who is the #1 domestic light beer in the US today, almost 100 years after? It's Miller. Then we had Michelob, which was the first to create the high-end domestic beer market. Today, who is the #1 high-end domestic beer? It's Michelob, which actually have twice the market share that Heineken does. And similarly in crypto, you can see that the same phenomenon exists. It's universal across human nature to always follow the law of leadership. Bitcoin is Bitcoin because it was the first cryptocurrency. Ethereum is Ethereum because it was the very first smart, programmable crypto with smart contracts. Solana took the throne to become the first cheap gas, high-speed chain. Then we have AVAX that became known as the first gaming chain. Then we have Dogecoin, that is #1 meme coin today. It was the very first meme coin that was ever created in crypto. And then we have, if we want to take a niche example, we have Hype, which is currently, I think, top 12 coin market cap. They were the very first community only or community backed decentralized exchange. They were the first to come out without any VC, where every fees made from the platform is then reinvested in buying the tokens. They positioned themselves as a category first. And here's the more interesting part about this and how that we can continue further expanding on this. Just like we saw with the example of beers and beverages in the US, there's not one category king. Instead, there are subcategories under it. So for example, as we saw, there's the imported beer, Heineken. Then there's the domestic light beer, that's Miller. And then there's the domestic high-priced beer, premium beer, that's Michelob. So we have different categories that got opened, and then we saw leaders come in there. So similarly with the law of leadership in the category, we saw Uniswap become the #1 exchange that specializes for EVM, so for Ethereum. Then we had Radium do the same for Solana. And then we had OpenSea become the #1 marketplace for Ethereum NFTs, and Magic Eden becoming #1 NFT marketplace for Solana NFTs. And although Magic Eden tried to take market share away from OpenSea by introducing Ethereum NFTs, most of the Ethereum volume is still on OpenSea, and OpenSea tried to do the same with Solana NFTs. Magic Eden still remains #1 with Solana. You see how fascinating this is? Then we have the Punks, which are the Grail collection on Ethereum. And then we have Mad Lads that have positioned themselves as the #1 Solana NFT PFP collection. Pudgy positioned themselves as the very first crypto IP play. So Pudgy and Pengu, the very first IP, crypto IP play. They've created a category for themselves. Azuki, anime, first NFT anime collection. And now with the anime token, anime. We have, let's go even nicher, Story Protocol, a blockchain. You might ask, what is Story Protocol? It's I think currently sitting at $6 billion in market cap, top 50 coin market cap blockchains. They've specialized themselves in being the blockchain for intellectual property, so IP, where they want all the global IP brands in the world to come in and store and build their IPs with Story Protocol. And just like we had Pudgy Penguins be the IP play that created their own category, we have Claynosaurs that are positioning themselves as the Solana IP play. And that is the most fascinating part about building in crypto in an industry that is always growing and that is always changing, is we always have new bubble of opportunities that are opening up literally every week that are gonna allow people to become the #1 in their respective categories. Just recently we saw projects that built on Berachain all of a sudden become the #1 NFT on Berachain, the #1 DEX on Berachain. Then we have Abstract, the #1 DEX on the #1 PFP. Like we're seeing all these categories, you can just multiply that depending on which category you want to build in. And then, although a chain is a category, you have new metas that are opening up. The whole AI meta, for example, was not a thing over a year and a half ago, but it became one. And we saw all these players come in and fill in the different categories that open up with it. This is the law of leadership. And the top 1% of crypto marketers understand how to use that in their advantage. Because the thing is, as a marketer yourself, one of the things you need to understand is that you are not working with what is, you are also working with what it has the potential to become. So let's say you're working with a product, whether you're a founder that wants to master Web3 marketing, or you're a marketer that works with clients, you are not working with the final product. Your goal is to help shape the product in a way that makes it more marketable. I'll give you an example, great example, and then gets us into the question, how do you build your category king if it almost looks like you're competing in a very saturated industry? Because it is, everything is commoditized, every chain is fast, every chain is free, every NFT looks good, everything is commoditized. Well, I'll tell you how. For example, one of the clients that we are currently working with one of the things they had is that they built their blockchain for the whole gaming meta. But then gaming lost its allure, it lost its attention. It was no longer hot, it was no longer sexy. So one of the things that they did is that yes, we built our blockchain for gaming, but that also meant that we had the fastest blockchain in the world. So they actually have the fastest blockchain in the world according to them. So what they did now is that they repositioned themselves in the last 12 months, literally from the first time I spoke with them was last summer. Today, their main marketing angle is the first 1 million transaction per second blockchain. That's the category that they're going after. The first 1 million transaction per second blockchain. They've taken that category. Maybe one day there will be a 10 million, but the first 1 million, that's the title that they're taking. Are there other blockchains that might do 1 million per second? Maybe, probably. I mean, it's like with the way tech is moving, probably, but they will forever be known as that because this is the title that they've taken. So the real question, if you're looking at your product, the question becomes, how do I position myself as a category king? And the first way of doing that is by actually creating something new, unique that has never been seen before. And this is where you can use the blue ocean strategy framework, one that I've very much used to build on Fungible. And I've made a video, which I'm going to be linking at the end of this video for you, the simple way of looking and creating your own blue ocean and stop competing in the red ocean that is all bloody, is by looking at the competition, looking at the features that they have, and then asking yourself, what can I reduce in importance? What can I increase in importance? And what can I create that is new? So what is a new feature that I create that is not offered by anyone? That's literally the framework that I've used every time I've created a product. At Unfungible, we don't offer go-to-market services. We don't have influencer marketing. We don't do none of this. And that's why who we work with is super limited. It's a very specific persona of people that we work with. But we've created our own blue ocean. We have no competition. And that's the reason why we are where we are, is because of just that. So that's one way of creating something completely new. A second way of doing that is a strategy by Claude Hopkins. Well known as the grandfather of modern marketing, one of the things Claude Hopkins did very well is that he could turn the ordinary into the irresistible. So one of the things he knew how to do, he would find something, for example, one of his clients, talking about the beer example, Schmitz was one of his clients. They were very average beer in the market. And one of the things he did is during the research process and studying their manufacturing process, he realized that every beer company used a brownish bottle. The public didn't really know why that was. So what he did is he took the brown bottle that every other company was also doing, but then he positioned Schmidt as the original brown bottle company by saying how much Schmidt worked so much on the purity of their beer, and then that's why we're using the brown bottle. It's to filter the sun so that it doesn't ruin the beer. So then they created this whole new marketing angle that positioned Schmidt as the pure beer company. They created their own category. That's the law of the leader. They now in people's minds, it's okay, I want a pure beer. That's who I'm gonna go to. They've invented their new category by taking a feature that was, taken for granted by everyone. They took this and they made their whole brand around that. So I would ask myself for you, what is a technology that you have within your blockchain, which is probably something very complex. There's a lot of small moving things that you take for granted that the public probably doesn't know about. And you can come in and you can position yourself as the first to do this new thing. And that's how you can create your own category. So that is, ladies and gentlemen, the first thing that the 1% of marketers have learned how to do. Learned how to create a brand that is positioned and perceived as a category king. And this brings us to the second thing, which is overcoming the cold start problem. So beautiful. You have a brand that is unique. You have your unique angle for your company. How do you get the word out there? Because you can be the first 1 billion transaction per second blockchain, but if you have no way of communicating it to the market, you do not exist. And someone else is gonna come in and take the title from you. So how do you overcome the cold start problem? And the way that 1% marketers are able to do it is through the second law, which is the law of network arbitrage. The best marketers launch and are able to get that instant traction because they have a network of people they can tap into to use to push the launch of the brand. I will give you an example. For example, at Unfungible, just for you to understand network arbitrage. In the last 3 years of building in Web3, I've built a network of people, I've built a reputation for myself, and through the products that we've offered, have met a lot of teams. One thing we have, and I was looking at the data just before this call, we have over 1,705 groups with unique teams or creators in the space on Telegram. We've built a list, not a list, we just have over 1,700 people or groups that we can reach different people in the industry at. These are all groups for people that are involved with Unfungible in some form of way. They're either speakers within our network of spaces, these are clients of ours, these are partners, these are friends. These are all people that we have a working relationships with, that know us, that know what we do, and are probably gonna be willing to support us if we are to send them something. Let's say, Leon, I have the idea of launching the Unfungible token, which is not coming anytime soon, but I have the idea of launching the Unfungible token. One of the things I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work on a really good launch campaign, a good launch trailer, and then when the launch comes, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that link and I'm gonna send it to all my 1,700 contacts. And assuming a 20% engagement rate, people liking, commenting, supporting, I'm all of a sudden gonna kickstart my marketing with 300 likes or 300 comments, 300 likes, and many reposts, quote retweets, whatever you wanna say this. This is entirely off my network. This is without the compounding effect, the post going viral, plus my audience on X seeing this, and then the audiences of my team seeing this. And then this post that through 300 contacts that engaged with it, again, 20% assumed engagement rate, this will probably become a post with 1,000 likes and a couple hundred comments. And it will probably have 100, 200, 300,000 impressions. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is how you overcome the cold start problem. I know a lot of people see these teams, these products that just first post, hundreds of organic likes, and it's like, bro, where did this come from? That's exactly what I'm describing to you. And I know this because, well, I mean, we've worked with hundreds of teams in our life at Unfungible, but also I've been on the receiving end of people being like, hey, Leon, by the way, remember the thing that I've told you I was working on? Well, it's actually live, would appreciate you just supporting. So I've seen the two sides, and man, it works. That is the way to do it. Now you might be asking right now, Leon, okay, cool. How do I build a network? What is the next step for me? And I have a couple options for you. The first one being the founder funnel. So the founder funnel is the path that I've taken. And by becoming someone of value to the marketplace, you will build a network around you. You will build a pool of supporters, of people that, support you, that look up to you, that you've exchanged messages with, you've had introduction calls with. These are all people that you can put on a CRM, or you can put a mental note, or you can organize somewhere and be like, okay, this is a connection. That connection will probably be open if I just slide them in one day and tell them about this new thing that I'm building, or just send them the link to it. There's a high likelihood that this is someone that will support me. I did it with the founder funnel. I made a recent case study from Project X with Lamboland being the lead marketer for it. The only reason why the project did like this and have over $50 million in total value locked on the platform only a couple of weeks after launch is because Lambo just put a tweet out. He's a well-known marketer, people respect him. He was able to get the whole space speculating on it, and everyone ended up joining the project. By the way, the founder funnel, I don't want to sugarcoat it. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time of you building your brand, you building your reputation. But the beautiful news is that you own your connections, you own the audience, you own the attention. So you will never need to pay anyone for it. The second path that is our disposal, let's say the founder funnel, okay, cool. We can even complement that, or let's say for any reason, founder funnel doesn't work. Today, a common term for CT lead, so crypto Twitter lead. A crypto Twitter lead is someone who is hired by you, who is well connected, has a strong brand, and is hired to be the spokesperson for your company. We've recently seen this with my good friend on X, Beast ICO, has been talking a lot about the concept of CT leads and the importance, how we're seeing the best funded brands get their hands on these CT leads because there's not many and they're valuable. And if you get your hands on a good one, they open up their whole network to you and you have the ability to arbitrage their founder funnel. Anyone who has a personal brand is a founder of their personal brand. So they have their own founder funnel. You're able to arbitrage that. We've seen Beast ICO, who is recently has become the CT lead for proof of play. We've seen Bread, also well-known thought leader, becoming the CT lead for Mega ETH. That's the only reason why people have heard of Mega ETH was because of that person. We're seeing this happen more and more often. Even this guy, Alex, with Coinbase. This right here is a path that exists. For you to be able to command the good people with a strong brand, you are going to need a strong brand and a lot of money. So that is the second path. The third path is actually one that complements the first one, which is the founder funnel, but it's also at a smaller scale, which is a strategy that I've been like, when I used to do consulting during the bear market, our primary service at Unfungible was actually doing consulting, go-to-market strategy consulting. One of the strategies we always recommended is one called the alpha strategy. So I've been talking about this for 3 years, and it's a scaled down version of the founder funnel. And the alpha strategy is nothing but becoming known in a certain community. And the example we would give founders is, which communities have your target audience? Let's say you're building an IP brand, you're launching an IP token or an IP NFT, whatever. Who are the communities that have an IP audience? Okay, these are the Azukis, these are the Pudgy Penguins, these are these guys. What you're gonna do is you're gonna buy all these NFTs and you're gonna spend your day networking in the channels. You're gonna have the ability to laser down on your core target audience. And once you are ready to launch, you're gonna have that base of people that you've established connection with that you know are your target audience. You're gonna be able to take that and bridge them into your project. We've recently seen partners of ours, Good Vibes Club. They were able to do this. For them, they were very well connected in the art space and they had a very art heavy NFT collection. A very niche personal brand that they had built. So the reputation they had was not big, but it was super niche with the brand that they built. That's why they were able to overcome the cold start problem. They just told the people they knew like, hey, here's a Discord link. And then the fourth path, which is, in my opinion, the worst of them, but it's this one that seems to be the most common that projects go for, is actually influencer marketing. So remember the example that I gave you where I have like 1,700 groups and that these are like 1,700 people that are willing to help me and support me and engage with my posts. This is my earned network. The alternative to this is buying the network. So you buy the network and you create the artificial perception of a network using influencer marketing. That's how it works. That's the goal of influencer marketing. The obvious problem is that it's expensive, so you gotta pay people, oftentimes a lot. And the second problem is that no matter how good you try to do your influencer marketing campaign, people can still smell that this is a paid partnership. Because number one, legally influencers have to disclose that they're getting paid. So usually they will say, oh, I am partnered with this company. And even those who don't, it'll always come off as a shill for some reason. Like no matter how much you try, it'll always come off as inauthentic. And inauthentic behavior gets you inauthentic results. So you're not gonna get the organic compounding effects that comes with an organic marketing strategy. People can see when something is organically hyped. So they will organically want to be part and hop in on the wagon. Be a very obvious paid shill. That is why personally, influencer marketing should only be used to complement the first three. So you launch the founder funnel network arbitrage strategy, and then you complement influencer marketing with it to further amplify it. That's how I would use influencer marketing. It's like pushing a little bit more air into the chamber so you can get more burn. That's how I see influencer marketing. But to get just ignition with influencer marketing, it's gonna cost a lot. So that's it. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. These two things and two things alone. Number one, becoming a category king. Number two, overcoming the cold start problem. The top 1% of marketers, they don't know marketing more than you do. They don't know the fundamentals. They don't know human behavior more than you do. What they do know is these two things. And these two alone, if you learn nothing but these two things, you put all your marketing books aside and you just focus on these two things, you will have a successful launch. With that said, I'm Leon Aboud. Make sure we're connected on X at @LeonAboud_. And if you want to learn how you can create an entire new category for yourself and make your competition irrelevant, make sure you check out my Blue Ocean strategy video right here. Ciao, ciao.